First, we had the Marx Brothers. Then came the Howard Brothers.
Swear?
No, but I know all the words.
My generation had the Wayans Brothers.
Hey, clown. Can you guess my wife's weight?
Sure, $1. Okay, she's about, I'd say, one fat.
See how one brother took a chance and busted down the door to the entertainment industry. The Wayans story starts in Harlem with Father Howell and Mother Elvira. The first of 10 children, Dwayne, was born in 1956, followed by Keenan Ivory in 1958. Their first daughter, Deidre, in 1959, Damon in 1960, and Kim in 1961. The family then moved to the projects in Chelsea, where the rest of their children were born. Notably, Shawn, born in 1971, and Marlon, born in 1972.
Beyond just being poor, we were part of an experiment. City of New York started public housing around 1960s. They were integrated, but the country was not integrated at that time. So my project was comprised of Puerto Ricans who were brought in from the East Side, blacks who were brought in from Harlem, Irish who were in Hell's Kitchen. You had 3 of the toughest groups put into this 8-square block housing development who had never related to each other at all, ever. And everybody came with their prejudices, and everybody came with their issues and baggage and resentments, and it was hell. It was every single day you fought. No ifs, ands, or buts. You walked out the door, there was a fight. And it took us through my generation to figure it out. When we first moved there, it forced us to not fight as one. We fought as 10. And that was the thing. If one of us had a fight, 9 of us were there because you never knew, you know? So it really, like I said, it bonded us more than any typical family would, just because we had to.
Howell Wayans is a devout Jehovah's Witness and tried to raise his children with a strict upbringing. Times were tough and money was tight. Howell did his best to provide for his family.
When you have 10 people in an apartment in the projects and a breadwinner who's not winning much bread, it is a constant creative way of surviving. You know, we all had jobs when we were very young, whether it was shining shoes or collecting bottles or delivering groceries. It was always trying to find that way to survive. They had very high sort of moral standards. That, like, my mom refused to ever go on welfare. My parents had morals about their poverty. It was just like, you know, sort of set a bar for us.
The family were close and worked together to survive, which laid the foundation of working as a team in comedy. Humor was a common coping mechanism for the entire family.
And you never got in trouble for being funny. My mom had a great sense of humor. My dad had a great sense of humor when he was not stressed out, you know. Comedy was allowed, you know, and so we never got in trouble. And also, I don't know, I think like comedy might be genetic.
Keenan Ivory Wayans had a love for comedy from an early age.
Sat on my grandfather's lap, literally, until I was too big, and then sitting next to him, watching this show. focused on the new comic every night, like, who's this guy?
He idolized Richard Pryor. Keenan kept this dream pretty much to himself while growing up. He attended Seward Park High School, then got a scholarship to Tuskegee University in Alabama for an engineering degree. It was at Tuskegee where Keenan's life took a turn.
I was one of the few kids from New York in Alabama, and at lunchtime I was entertainment. So the kids would either be hanging out on the fountain or one of the other areas of the campus, and I would be telling stories about New York, and everybody wanted to know about New York. And again, I had a captive audience, and I would do my characters and all my, jokes, and I'd have everybody laughing.
One of the hardest things he had to do was face his parents and tell them he was dropping out of college to pursue a career in stand-up comedy. Knowing absolutely nothing about the industry, he set off to hone his craft. One of the first places he landed was the Improv, where he met future collaborator Robert Townsend.
And one day, one of the other kids from New York who was in school, he was a upperclassman, had saw me and came up to me and said, "Hey man, when you go home, you should check out the Improv." And I was like, "The Improv? What's that?" And he goes, "Oh, it's a comedy club, and Richard Pryor started," and that's all he had to say. And when I got home, I went in the phone book and I found the Improv. And the irony of that was it took me going 2,000 miles away to find out about a club that was literally 1 mile from my house. Immediately, I went to the Improv and I auditioned to go on stage. I stood in line with another comedian, Robert Townsend. We both were in line at the same time. And I managed to get picked to go on. I went on, and it was one of the most surreal moments ever, because it was an outer body experience. I was standing on stage, but at the same time I was able to see myself. And there was only about 5 people in the audience. And it was, scattered laughter. But I was looking at myself and I was going, "You're doing it." It was like I had stepped into my dream, like all those years, and I was like, wow, this is the feeling was as good as I thought it was going to be. And I didn't care about laughter at that moment because I knew I could do this. I was like, I can do this. And the next time I went, I got passed. Me being a kid from the projects, my audience at the Improv were tourists and people from New Jersey and, all white. It was, so I had to learn how to translate my experiences to a different group of people. So, by studying other comics, I picked up things, it wasn't like so clear, but you just instinctively go, oh yeah, that's what I need to do. Oh, I see how he's making that joke work. You know what I mean? So.
One of Keenan's dreams came true in 1983 when he appeared on Johnny Carson.
That was the greatest moment of my career. Because I remember being backstage and they were about to announce me. And my heart was like jumping out of my chest. And I said something out loud, a line from Risky Business. I just put my head down. As they were saying my name, I said, "Sometimes you just gotta say, what the f***?" And I ran out. And I did my act. And it went great. And the icing on it was the moment that every comic who does the Tonight Show, the dream on top of the dream, is that Johnny asked you to come sit, and I did. They put you in a different class of comics, and sort of made the process of auditioning easier, but it didn't change my career.
After his appearance on Johnny Carson, Keenan landed a few small roles, including a bit part on A Different World as Professor Lawrence. In 1987, Keenan collaborated with fellow comedian Robert Townsend on the film Hollywood Shuffle.
My career changed by myself and Robert Townsend deciding that we were going to do our own movies.
It was loosely based on actual experiences they had trying to find acting work.
Baltimore?
No, Jasper, the Promised Land.
Oh, the Promised Land. Minnesota?
And cut.
Hi, my name is Robert Taylor, and I'm a black actor. I had to learn to play these slave parts, and now you can too, at Hollywood's first black acting school. It teaches you everything. Learn Jive Talk 101.
The movie tackled the race problem in Hollywood, but in a very funny way. Keenan's next big project was the movie I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, where he served as writer and director. The film did much better than the studio ever expected. This film is what eventually led to a deal with network TV and the creation of the show in living color, which gave Keenan the opportunity to give his talented family members a job in comedy. Check us out next time for part 2. We'll feature Damon Wayans and the show in living color. If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe for more videos just like this. As always, thanks for checking us out.
Pew, 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 pew.